I want to talk about how restaurants can use data to really inform their decisions and better serve their customers. The James Beard Foundation releases some very helpful data every year about the state of the industry. Can you just speak to that report and how you think entrepreneurs can use data to grow their business?
Absolutely. So we released this State of the Independent Restaurant Industry report. Most of the data that's out there about restaurants captures the more high volume sector, and it's really important to be capturing the independent restaurants because their challenges are and opportunities, and also their ability to change and adapt to any external pressures is very different than something that might take 6 to 9 months. DeAndre is talking about the menu mix. He can make a change on a weekly basis if needed. So we capture that data and then which hopefully will help chefs and small restaurant owners, independent restaurant owners make decisions. And one of the key pieces of data of the 2025 report was that almost everyone increased their prices, but there is a drop off after 15%. Up to 15%, it increased profit. After 15%, anything higher than that, and profits drop. So this is actionable information that owners can be using when they're looking at their menus and saying, okay, we can push it, but only so far. So what other adaptations do we need to make? DeAndre mentioned labor. Those costs have also greatly increased. However, what our data showed is that there's a greater increase in profit when employees feel a lot of satisfaction and get higher pay. So that's another thing too. Where do you invest and what type of changes do you need to make? And we'll be releasing this summer an activity-based costing tool that will help chefs adapt their pricing, because it's a very simple spreadsheet. We did not want them to have to invest in a new piece of technology. That's one of the challenges that we hear a lot. What software do I get into? I need data, but there's so many places out there, and then 6 months later, they're sold to another company. So something very simple where they can factor in absolutely everything, down to not just the labor of the line cook who might be making the dish, but what percentage of the executive chef's time went into the creation of the dish, the taxes paid, the credit card fees, all of these, to really have a clear idea of what each dish cost to be able to better price it out. So data is really, really critical. And what's hard for chefs is very often it is the owner who is also the chief marketing officer and the PR person and HR and to also be the one having to collect and analyze the data. It's not just a question of getting it, but what do you do with it is really, really key. And finding time to do that is hard. DeAndre, you probably have some thoughts about that.
Yeah, man. Data. Yes, and I definitely have some thoughts about data. Data is very important. We have to use our sales history to kind of determine how to run a business. Data. We use data on how to schedule the employees for work. We use data to inform us on how much food we need to order, how much food we need to prep. So using those sales data is very important. That's the only way pretty much you're gonna be successful in today's industry.
Absolutely. And the insight you provided, Dr. Ann, about the 15% when it comes to menu price increases, I think is so valuable, because it almost gives you a framework to look at your own numbers, make some decisions, but then have an understanding of general impact across the board. And that stood out to me so much because I feel like I've noticed price increases around here for some of the favorite places I go to. And I know that they have a lot of repeat customers, and that's a huge part of their base. And so you want to think about increasing those costs to make it make sense for the dollars and cents of the dish and the staff and everything that goes into it. But you also want to have the price be low enough that people can come with frequency to your business, depending on the type of business you are, right? Sometimes if it's fine dining, you're not going to have as much repeat maybe as like a diner, but those are things to really keep in mind and ways that you can use the data and customize it to your own experience.